Hello, everybody, and welcome to January 30th Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, joined by Eric Donovan.
4 races to bring you on this week's episode, and one of the highlights of this week is the good rail bias that we saw on Saturday and Sunday. We'll take a look at 3 races from those days on the 25th and 26th. We'll get started with the 4th race from Saturday. It's a New York-bred maiden special weight for 4-year-olds and up, going 5.5 furlongs.
Yeah, and I mean, the rail basically played a major role in 18 races, all of the race on Saturday and Sunday. Now, the first thing we'll show you is the 4, one of the favorites in this race, and that was the eventual 5th place finisher, Ronnie's Way, will break a bit slowly.
Ronnie's Way gets off slowly, watched the head-on, really nothing to see there. I thought, just kind of victim of his own, his own problems there, caused his own problems at the start there. So he's out of the race. He'll make a move, though, to get in contention here. We'll stop and highlight the other 2 horses we're focused in on, the 3 Brass Pair and the blue and beige silks there, and the 7 horse, that's Sir Maurice in the green and yellow.
Yeah, Sir Maurice actually ran very well to be second in the 7-pound bug rider. I don't understand this. There was a rider change, and a theoretical positive rider change to Brass Pair, who's got a ton of speed and seemed to be the speed in this race. And instead, this rider, who frankly wasn't that attuned to the bias throughout the 2 days, one of the riders that really wasn't attuned to it, he just took this horse back out of the race, and this was a race where Brass Pair could have taken advantage of his natural speed.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he might not end up in the worst spot down here, but right here, he checks a little bit, and he actually clipped heels. I missed it on the pan shot once I watched the head-on. You told me about it. Once I watched the head-on, I realized it was a lot worse than it looked on the pan.
Yeah, I know. He clips heels behind horses. He steadies back there. He's never on the rail. He's out of his natural position. You see the 7, Sir Maurice, make an extended 3 to 4 wide run here on the apprentice rider. And the 4, Ronnie's Way, he was just up against it because of the start. Though he stayed towards the rail, he went to the 2 path. He didn't run that badly. But, judging by the way the racetrack is played, it played into the hands of the winner, Perfect Disco. And he was on the rail. He got off a little bit in the stretch, but back to the rail. But I mean, Brass Pair, this was his day, and he was denied his best chance. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, I agree. The rider should have been a little bit more aggressive out of the gate there. Would have certainly avoided the trouble that he saw around the 3/8 pole to 5/16 pole there. The horse I'm kind of interested in, though, Andy, is the 7, Sir Maurice, because, I know that he didn't really have the poor start or the steady around the turn, but, I thought he was the widest of them all there. And with the apprentice Laura Carson, the 7-pound bug, you figure, maybe this horse can improve a little bit next time out.
Well, yeah, I mean, a rider change certainly wouldn't hurt with that horse, but I agree. Sir Maurice is the one who really ran the best race of anybody. It's hard to judge Ronnie's Way race because at the start he really lost any chance. I don't think he ran that badly after it, but it's hard to have a definitive opinion. I think you're right. Sir Maurice is the horse you probably want out of the race simply because he had the widest trip, because in general the rail really exaggerated performances of horses that were on it and significantly hurt horses that tried to make outside moves. And it got worse as the day and the weekend went on.
All right, we'll take a look at a couple races from Sunday now. We'll go to the 6th race from Sunday, another state-bred maiden special weight. This one for 3-year-olds, though, going 6 furlongs.
Yeah, and this was one where CC Lopez had the benefit of breaking inside, breaking sharply with the layoff horse Testosterone, and he got the lead. Now, a few horses to note here. There's Curious Cal, who's back there, who breaks a little bit slowly. And you've got the 10 horse, a first-time starter, heavily bet for Jeremiah Englehart. And you've got the 7 and 8 here, the eventual 2nd and 5th place finishers. Hamden 5-1, the favorite, and the 5th place finisher, Freddie G. All of these horses are somewhat interesting for different reasons. Clearly, I think we'll agree that Super Nicky, had been a fair racetrack and not been chasing outside, he might have been able to win this race. Though I think the 7, Hampton 5-1, would have won, and I don't understand why his rider seemed to do everything he could to get off the rail. Here he's in an easy position to go to the rail. He stays in the 2 path. He angles out 3 wide in the stretch, and that's what you want to do on a fair racetrack, but you got to be attuned to how the track was playing. So he's in there. Oh, here's the 7, 8, and 10. The 8 chases wide the whole way, and the 4 horse, Curious Cal, for breaking slowly, he rushes up between horses and gets into contention, Eric.
Yeah, Curious Cal gets into contention. A little bit green, I thought, down the backstretch. Spent a lot of the race bumping off the outside horse there, the 5 and Mark Mann. They kind of made contact a couple of times down the backstretch there. But, I think he'll move forward 2nd time out. But, the other 3 horses that we're focusing in on here, including the 7, Hampton 5-1, like you said, just really not sure why the rider elected to come off the rail and never be on the rail at any point in the race.
I think because he wasn't paying attention to how the racetrack was playing, and the 4 is back here. The 7, 8, and 10 are all in there, and I honestly think it was a lack of paying attention to the racetrack was playing, because he could have cut the corner where this 2 did, the horse who's in sort of the pinkish orange, and had he cut the corner and angled out, it's not impossible he would have won this race. He certainly would have been much closer. I thought the 8, Freddie G, he might be the one I really want out of this race, because he was coming off the layoff, bet heavily in his first start for Gary Contessa, he bet again in this race, and he just was chasing 3, 4 wide the whole way around the track, and he actually never really stopped running. I thought that he ran okay, all things considered, favorite. And also the 4 Curious Cow. I think his horse took a little bit of money, and he had some trouble. Maybe he'll run better in a fair race next time.
To me, the horse that kind of epitomizes the way the racetrack was playing is Freddie G, though, because you can kind of see, I mean, coming off the turn, it looked like he was going to get nothing. He could have faded and, and finished toward the back of the pack there, but he kind of just, almost like, spinning his wheels a little bit, treading water. He's just kind of there on the outside. He doesn't go backwards. He doesn't go forwards. But, on a fair racetrack, maybe he does come with a little bit better closing kick.
I totally agree with you. I think he's a very interesting horse going forward. I think people are going to be closing in and kind of giving up on him, thinking, he's had 2 chances. He hasn't really run that well, and I can really excuse this effort. Hammond 5-1 is what he is, and he may be the best horse in this race. I think it just shows how important it is when you have a bias situation that the riders are attuned to it. I think it was a perfect ride on a fair racetrack, but this wasn't a fair racetrack.
All right, we'll take a look at the 9th race now from Sunday. This is a 12-5, 2 lifetime claimer for 4-year-olds and up 6 furlongs.
One of the few races actually ran all weekend where the winner actually beat the bias. MP Ruckus was pretty much 3 wide, but a long shot named Corbiant, who was tough to make on paper, rode the gold rail and ended up finishing second at big price. And the horse we're going to talk about are the 5, GW's Hammer, who has some trouble in this race but ends up in the rail. The 10 horse Candy Raider, who made a big wide move and ended up nowhere. And then the 7 horse in here, another horse ridden by Laura Carson, Indogene Charm, who makes a big, long, sustained 4 wide run. The problem with the 10 and 7 for me is both were turning back here, and I think these were the good spots to bet them. They were turning back from routes to sprints, and I wonder if they'll run as well next time, but both these horses had impossible wide trips chasing. The 5 GW's Hammer, as you'll see down the backstretch, had some significant trouble steadying on 2 different occasions.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about a little bit later what you do with the horse that, pretty much enjoys a trip on the better part of the racetrack for the most part, but does get into trouble. There's GW's Hammer in the green on the outside horse, the 10 Candy Raider, and then the 7 from back is Indogene Charm.
Yeah, she's out of the picture. I agree. GW's Hammer stays a little bit there, and I think Manuel Franco is trying to find position down the inside, but it's going to steady inside of the 6 right there. You're going to see it happen again and gets the rail, but it's lost any kind of position. Candy Raider was much closer than I would expect him to be in the orange, sort of chasing 3 wide. He's there. All the way back here now is GW's Hammer, and 4 wide, there's Indogene Charm, who actually makes a relatively long, extended 4 wide run, and I think might have been ready to run a reasonably good race today, which is something he hasn't done in quite some time, but he was badly hampered by the track.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what spot these horses end up in next time out, at least Indogene Charm and Candy Raider, and how they look, because they're horses that are, a little bit on the inconsistent end. They're 2 lifetime horses. Between them, they got about 37 starts, so you can't expect them to show up with good efforts every time. That said, these efforts are pretty well hidden, I think, because they're against the bias, and they're horses that people weren't really focusing in on this race.
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to show you with the last 3 races we show, because the last race we'll show you is on Monday when the track was much, much fairer, is just the kind of horses you're looking for. And when you see horses running back that ran on either January 25th or January 26th, take a look at the ones that have wide comments, horses that were also rans. Watch the replays, watch trips and traps, but also watch the replays of any and all the races. Discount horses that had inside trips and move up horses with outside trips. This is the way you'll be betting against some bad favorites, and you'll be betting on some horses at big prices. They may or may not win, but they're going to have a much better chance to win than their odds will suggest.
In a way, I think, summing up the 2 days, that we thought there were inside biases, I think for the most part, for me, I was disappointed. I thought there'd be more horses I'd want to bet off those races with wide trips. I think you might have a little bit more luck betting against horses that enjoyed the perfect setups down toward the race.
Well, that's always going to be partly the case, but I just think you have to have an open mind. I don't think we're going to sit here and say, hey, look, this horse, like the last race we showed, and we're showing a couple of bad horses, they had wide trips, and the point is, I don't even know if those specific horses are going to end up in spots where we're going to like them and want to bet on them. You're not going to run through and say, here was the 5 horses that had 2 and 3 and 4 wide trips. We're just telling you, watch the races for 2 days, find horses with wide trips, move them up. If you think moving them up gives them a chance here, you're going to be betting horses at 15, 20 to 1 that don't look good on paper, that might be 6, 8 to 1 shots. They're still not going to win more than 15, 20% of the time, but they're going to win more than the 5% of the time they need to for you to make money. And that's what the name of the game is about. If you continue to bet horses at 20 to 1 that are supposed to be 8 to 1, you won't cash that often, but you'll make money in the long run, and that's what the game's about.
All right, well, you saw the track even out on Monday with a little bit warmer temperatures, so we'll take a look at a horse that ran pretty well in the context of the race, either 7 Ruthless Alley. This is a $50,000 starter allowance going a mile.
This is a horse, and we're just going to show him once because you won't have a problem seeing him. He's got purple silks. He'll be perched 4 and 3 wide the whole way around the track. So where's Ruthless Alley goes against my general principle of they run him on the turf because they show him nothing on the dirt. This is a horse who spent his career on the turf, and it seems after his 2 races on the dirt, since being switched there by his trainer, Rodrigo Ubillo. He's significantly improved, and I thought this was an absolutely flat-out terrific effort. Even though it was a fairer track, he still chased 4 wide and 3 wide around the track, which on a fair track, he's losing ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a good effort here. Keep in mind the winner and the second place finishers are the 3. Finn's Quest is just in behind the 7-horse Ruthless Alley down toward the inside, and the 4 Anaphylaxis off the screen right now, the gray, and you'll start to see the 7 Ruthless Alley start to engage the leaders a little bit here, end up on a 3-wide vie around the far turn here. This is just a good effort from this horse, where all the other horses close up to the pace, the 1, the 2, and the 5, they all fade toward the back of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about race dynamics refer to the manner in which the race was run. And when you see a race where these 2 horses, including the 2 at 6 to 5 in the front, will end up finishing last and second to last, and even this horse finishes 4th, and the horses that run 1-2 come from 5th and 7th, you've got a classic race that basically melted down, and they really do fall apart late, and yet you have this horse in Ruthless Alley that was the widest of all of them, attacked the pace early. It was obviously a contentious pace, a pace that came apart, yet Ruthless Alley digs in, gets beaten a nose and a length, is right there. I mean, there's a chance the 16th ball that Ruthless Alley is actually going to gut out the win. Now, maybe the others are hanging a little bit, and I don't know why there was an inquiry against Finn's Quest. Do I bet? And I'm glad there wasn't, but he came out very, very severely in Anaphylaxis and cost him any chance he had to win, though he's got a little hang in him. But, geez, Ruthless Alley really ran a big game effort.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, as you said, the 6 to 5 favorite, Barrister Jim, fades back to a 6th position there. He's beaten 4 3/4 lengths in there, where Ruthless Alley only gets beat a nose, and Ruthless Alley was 14 to 1, had that wide trip, chasing all the way. So solid effort, 2 in a row now for Ruthless Alley.
Yeah, I mean, I thought his last race a bit of mirage, though he survived the pace. Not a mirage after this. This is a horse that is significantly improved, and he's got lower profile connections. He's not going to be 2 to 1 the next time he runs. We'll see if he comes back with the same bug rider, though I don't really think that she has done anything wrong on him. In fact, I think she's done fine with the opportunities that have been presented to her. She hasn't had a lot of opportunities, and horse racing is about opportunities, and that's why we need your help.
Tune into our segments, and write us an email at tripsandtraps@NYRAinc.com.
Thanks for watching.